I gave up a free Bronco to purchase a $70,000 Gladiator, to which I instantly added about $20,000 worth of modifications. Why in the world would I do that? To tell this story as best as I can, we need to go back to September of 2020 and back to my studio where it's not as cold. So welcome to the studio. Let's go back to September 2020. That is when the agency running the Team Bronco Ambassador program first contacted me. They liked my content, they liked my truthfulness, and more importantly, they liked me. Plus, I think there's kind of a side note about the idea of a Jeep guy giving the Bronco an honest try that they were kind of into as well. But after over a year of waiting and about 1,000 hiccups, including a marketing agency change, Major Tom rolled off the truck in December 2021. The two-door Bronco was not my first choice. After all, my Jeep, Cool Rick, was a four-door Wrangler on 35s with a rooftop tent. In my early conversations with Ford's trickle-down marketing agencies, I told them that the Bronco I should get should be like for like to my Jeep Wrangler. And initially, they agreed. However, through that year of waiting, I was informed that Ford Legal would not allow me to run a rooftop tent on the four-door Sasquatch Bronco. So this meant downsizing to 33-inch tires, a compromise that I could live with because, free car. Then after a few more months, they told me the four-door Badlands set aside for me was no longer available. So I was placed in front of another compromise, this time a two-door Bronco. It was a Badlands with the Sasquatch package. So the good news was I could get 35-inch tires like I had on my Jeep Cool Rick, and I'd be allowed to run a rooftop tent. I asked multiple times during my ambassadorship for clarification on why the two-door Sasquatch could run a rooftop tent, but the four-door Sasquatch couldn't. I never got a detailed answer. To this day, everything is just speculation. I do not know why. Nobody with an @Ford.com email address has told me the reason. By the point that the decision was made, a two-door was ready for me. That was it. It was a sure deal. And that's what was happening. So I'm always up for a challenge, and the two-door Bronco seemed like the perfect challenge to convert it into a vehicle that was viable for overland and could sustain at least a month of travel. So I said goodbye to good old Cool Rick. May he ever be missed. And Major Tom was delivered. Over the 14 months that Major Tom was my travel companion, I feel like I successfully turned the two-door Bronco into a capable overland build, or as capable as I could, while towing the lines drawn by Ford's legal team. I could not add a lift or alter the suspension, and because of the safety sensors on the front bumper, I could not add a winch. The two things that I think the Bronco needs to really be a viable overlander. The Trail Rack's Tremor roof rack, including the side storage over the windows, with the addition of the spare tire carrier from American Adventure Labs paired with the Rome Adventure Co. 95 liter box, were all crucial because they added much needed storage to that small platform. Then the super light rooftop tent happened to be out at the time, and that was exactly what I needed to play by the rules and keep the dynamic roof load below 110 pounds. I've said this in a previous video, but the Red Arc, I think it was a little overkill for my two-door, but the battery tray and drawers from American Adventure Lab took organization to a whole new level. The dash, I had it outfitted with 67 designs, so that gave a home to my ham radio faceplate, my phone, my GoPro, my Somewhere Labs GPS communicator. The interior I felt was pretty dialed. Heretic lights illuminated the trail, Archetype Racing Magnum stirrups made climbing into the Bronco or accessing the tent on top effortless. Major Tom was as capable as I could see a two-door Bronco being for overland. And for many, it was the quintessential example of what to do to build a Bronco. And I'm proud of that. Even Orlando Bloom reached out to me to replicate it on his four-door Bronco. And to this day, it is still a great build. And something I would urge all Bronco owners to draw inspiration from. I've actually even included a full build list of that Bronco in this video description. The thing is, while Hillary and I were attempting to make the Bronco our summer home, there was a significant flaw, one that we could not look past. It was the one flaw that many of you correctly criticized me for. The two-door Bronco is the wrong platform for what we wanted to do. On solo trips, the two-door was magic. I had a home for everything and it just worked. The breakdown in livability occurred on every trip that we both went on. The one remaining passenger seat where I kept my camera gear and other miscellaneous things on solo trips needed to be left empty so that my wife could use it, which meant camera gear was tossed in the back along with our clothes, toiletries, and adventure gear from shoes and sandals to our day hike backpacks. The shortage of storage space was highlighted one morning in Oregon. As I awoke in the rain, my wife told me the two-door was not working for us. We needed to rethink all of it. I had put a lot of work into the Bronco at that point, and I really was trying to make the trip a success, so I stubbornly disagreed, and we trudged on, ultimately landing on a beach in Northern California in a windstorm where I randomly ran into AJ, photo runner on Instagram, and while I was hiding out in AJ's four-wheel camper, I realized, like any husband would, that my wife was right. We need more room, and the two-door isn't suitable for us. We needed something bigger. I want everyone to know that I tried to keep my Team Bronco ambassadorship rolling. I truly like the Bronco, but I wanted to get my hands on a four-door to make up for the space that we needed. Some very creative ideas were thrown around between the marketing agency and Ford, but ultimately, those conversations dwindled to radio silence. From October to January, and after a 2-month extension of my Ford contract, my Gladiator Winston was on the lot at Glendale in 4 months. I spent all of February returning Major Tom to stock. That was, as you can imagine, pretty bittersweet. So as my contract approached its final day of February 28th, I drove to LA where I returned Major Tom to Ford, took an hour-long Uber to cross 15 miles in LA County to Glendale, and I picked up my new 2023 Eco Diesel Rubicon Gladiator in Firecracker Red and named him Winston. So from March 1st until today and ongoing, it has been an all-out sprint, building the truck into the base vision that I had when I purchased it. I removed the stock wheels and tires and added the new Falcon RTs in a 37 12.5 and paired them with the Terraflex split-spoke Nomads. I opted for the Nomad wheels because they allow me to set and forget my air-down tire pressure. So I don't have to carry anything extra. I simply have to unthread the air down tab until it stops, and it will automatically dump the air and slow to a stop when it reaches between 15 and 17 PSI. And I can do that for all 4 tires in the time it takes me to walk around the truck twice. One time for unthreading and another time to thread them all back in. The RTs were a collaborative decision between me and my title sponsor Falcon. I love the Wild Peak AT3Ws. I had them on my Tacoma, I had them on Cool Rick. And they assured me the hybrid RT will be just as amazing, but favor off-road a little bit more than the AT3Ws. So I took them for their word and have been very happy that I did. The quiet on-road drive and capable off-road reliability have made these some of my favorite tires to date. Following the wheels and tires, I added the Rockslide engineering steps. These are one of my favorite additions to the truck so far. They aren't the easiest to install by yourself, so grab a friend if you're doing these in your garage like I did. Without these, my wife couldn't get into the truck at all, so 100% worth it. I still need to add the skid plates to them, but I need Utah to stop snowing before I venture out into the garage again for another project, because it's currently snowing right now while I'm filming this in April 21st, on April 21st. Isn't that stupid? After the steps were on, I spent 3 days installing the AEV EX front bumper, a much more challenging install than I had initially anticipated. But once the bumper was secured to the front of the Jeep, I loaded up all of my Terraflex suspension parts and I made my way to Canada. Back when I had Major Tom, my 2-door Badlands Sasquatch Bronco, I was asked all the time why I didn't lift it and why I didn't put 37s on it. And the answer is, so I could do it to my Jeep. If you haven't heard yet, this is Winston. This is my Eco Diesel 2023 Gladiator, and I'm here at Epic in Surrey, British Columbia, where we're installing my 3.5-inch Terraflex lift, my 37-inch tires with Terraflex split-spoke Nomad wheels, This thing, it's gonna leave here an entirely new truck. I've only had it, I don't know, 2 weeks, and it's coming together. I'm very excited. So why would a guy like me drive all the way from Utah to Epic to have my install done? Well, the simplest answer I can give you is that these guys know their stuff. When I was discussing with them how I wanted to use my Jeep and that I was really interested in using TerraFlex parts again, their knowledge of the TerraFlex catalog on the Gladiator and even on the JL, and talking about how we could tailor some of those TerraFlex components to what I want to do, impressed me, like far beyond my expectations. And that's why I made the drive all the way up here. So even if you're in the US, you can come up here, you can have a consultation with these guys, jump on the phone before you even drive here, and talk about how you want to use your Jeep, get their help in picking the correct parts. And then because you're buying them up here in Canada, your US dollar goes a little bit further because they're doing all of the importing and everything. So you're getting the strength of the US dollar on TerraFlex parts, and then their labor is cheaper labor. So we're down in Salt Lake City, it's about $150 to $175 an hour for labor. US, up here, they're about $120 Canadian for labor. So you're gonna save on that, and you're getting their expertise at that lower price. I truthfully cannot tell you how excited I am just watching them pull the parts out and adjust things and make those tailored movements that the Gladiator's gonna have. I'm so excited. Here we go. I have a truck on a lift, So what's going on here is the crew here at Epic, he really didn't do it. It was mostly another guy named Landon. What they did is they built all of this incredible suspension for Winston. So we've got all TerraFlex and Falcon goodies up front. These are just, I can't even describe what everything does. We'll have Christian do that in a minute, but basically it's beef. Pure 100% USDA approved grade A beef.
We've got TerraFlex's upgraded steering, which in case of a zombie apocalypse, you could use these as weapons. We've got the Falcon Nexus 2.2 steering stabilizer, flipped up out of the way thanks to the steering kit, otherwise it would be right parallel with this. He has the new HD springs, front and rear. So not only does it carry the front diesel better, it's gonna carry weight and probably a little bit of weight. I think they call it overloading now, it's not overlanding anymore. We've got factory designed sway bar links all the way around. We've got all 8 Alpine IR arms. The reason we usually use these arms is because it has an independent rotational bushing in here that not only comes with a lifetime warranty, you don't have to tighten it at rest. So if we had it unbolted at one end, I could literally move it back and forth nicely with ease without having to undo this bolt. So it allows, when you're articulating, it doesn't bind up. It more smoothly stretches its legs. So we did that on the front. We also added the drop brackets. A lot of people get this mixed up. They're like, oh, I don't put drop brackets. I lose all my ground clearance. If this is all your ground clearance, you have other problems. Though the drop brackets do help fix the caster is all the lower arm does, is help fix caster or pinion angle. When the drop brackets change the whole geometry so that your arms are more at a parallel level, so when you're driving you have better handling, it's not as rough going over bumps, it's just nicer all around. We have the arms in the back, obviously. We've got the long Falcon shocks, fully adjustable 3.3s, so they're tried and true. We have the long travel system. So we have this massive sway bar going above the frame side to side, hooked to a massive set of links. So now there's no binding points, it's a lot longer. It's not across the diff down here where it can get hit by rocks. And with the brackets that have added to the diff to make it all work, you'll notice at full hang, the springs are straight and the arms are also in a great location. It's not binding. We've dropped down the drive line, we've raised up the e-brake cables, we've lengthened everything. We have lengthened with jumper harnesses the ABS cables. We've also added the stainless steel brake line so that we can just hang without any problem, and they're secured out of the way with brake line anchors, front and rear. Great little thing you can add to any vehicle. And then of course, the gold track bar is obviously not a TerraFlex part, but it has miraculously allowed us, after the removal of the heat shield, to fit this nice big Falcon Wild Peak RT 37-inch tire. All in all, this suspension is gonna handle fast roads really well, long highway stretches, or if you want to articulate a crazy trail at Moab, it's going to do all of that.
And there you go. Winston has not skipped leg day. How good does this freaking look? The guys here at Epic, they crushed it. Well, they didn't crush it, they lifted it.
We thought about crushing it, but
there were a few moments.
It was worth more in parts than in a pancake.
Yeah, this it looks great. I think the next step is tent and miles, a little bit of adventure. Try and convince this guy to off-road some more and stop working on crap.
What's off-roading?
Yeah, he doesn't know. I wish I could have stayed up there longer, but I needed to hustle to Go Fast Campers in Belgrade, Montana to get my camper installed. The stop at Go Fast Campers was just that fast. They had the camper on the truck in no time. It was like 30 minutes or less. It was crazy fast. It was go fast. Anyways, it was perfect because I needed to get home and get to work because I had a whole box of Baja Design lights waiting for me. Which means we need to talk about something. For years, I have talked about Heretic Studio lights. I had them on my Tacoma, my JL, the Bronco. As my vision for the Gladiator came into focus, Baja Designs kept popping up as the best option for this build. I cannot say anything negative about Heretic Studio. They still receive one of my highest recommendations for a light bar company. That being said, boy do I like these Baja lights. So up front, I have two LP6s on the hoop of my AEV bumper. I self-fabricated a mount that pushes the lights forward to keep airflow to the front of the Jeep because I have a diesel and they run hot. And then it also helps line the lights up in front of the winch controller. The LP6 are my primary source of white light. I have these wired to a relay and then an ignition trigger, so that illuminates that backlighting when the ignition is fired up, and oh, it looks so good. Lower in the AEV front bumper, in that skid plate, I added a 20-inch S8 with the amber lenses. This also has the backlighting, which runs off the same ignition trigger as the LP6's. Near the A-pillars, I have Squadron Sports to help me spot critters. And then way in the back, I have two S2s with the amber lenses for chase lights. Under the passenger seat, the boys at Epic put in a new Kraken system with the ARB pressure control system. This added module connects to Bluetooth on my phone where I can set the pressure and the air compressor will stop filling at that desired pressure. This pairs perfectly with my TerraFlex Nomad wheels. I no longer need to carry all kinds of air up, air down tools, none of that. I don't even look at tire pressure. I just air down and it empties, and I air up and it stops. But even with all of that done, and more to be done, Winston's time had come. We needed to get the truck on some dirt to get a feel for how much more livable this was than the two-door Bronco. So we loaded up to meet with Rob from Revere Overland down in the San Rafael Swell. Because this is our first trip with the Gladiator, we didn't film any of our first night together. We wanted to put our feelers out and try and understand and troubleshoot anything that needed attention. So we woke up the following day, cameras ready, and set off to start our very first trail with Winston. I'm not sure what idiot thought it was a good idea to come camping in the wind, but Rob invited me, so... No, this is my fault. I'm cursed. Every time I camp here, it's windy. Doesn't matter. I checked the forecast. It wasn't supposed to be windy today or tomorrow, and now I just rechecked it since I've gotten here, and it's a wind advisory for the next 2 days that we're here. I blame you. I blame me. Where are we going, by the way? I don't even know. That way. All right, let's go that way. Hey, so this turns into a side-by-side trail here. So this is a load of crap. Fresh sign here. Vehicles 52 inches wide, basically Winston. Can't go beyond this point. We hiked up a little ways and there's a first obstacle that there are two kind of gateway rocks that 100% we would run into, and then after that, who knows what we'd get into. There's no way for me to turn around because it is so narrow. It's a shelf road. We're gonna play by the rules and go do something else. Well, we're back to where we aired down and figuring out our new plan. I think we'll try and connect to what would have been probably tomorrow's trail or the second half of today's trail. It's a bummer. That sign looked really new to me. I feel like it was put in recently, the 52-inch rule. And I mean, they put those signs there for a reason. So as much as I want to do that trail, do what's right, play by the rules, and we'll stay on trails meant for us.
Keep an eye out for a sheltered spot for lunch.
I think there's any getting away from the wind. We found kind of a spot to stop for lunch, and it's still windy. So windy, so dusty. Ugh. Oh, so we brought a diesel heater with us. Never again. This thing it just tipped over. It's leaked diesel everywhere. Now I gotta clean this up. Never again. Nope. Sorry. I got it. It was a ratchet strapped in. Just bounced out.
I guess if you emptied the tank, you could still use it tonight if it was cold. Can you see?
Oh, no.
Diesel things.
Yeah, luckily I can just empty this tank into the truck.
Very, very slowly.
Very slowly. Yeah, that wasn't how I expected lunch to go. Made a huge mess, diesel everywhere. I think I've got it cleaned up. I emptied the diesel into the truck from the diesel heater. That was an experience. So let's go try and find ourselves a camp spot out of the wind, because that's just miserable with the wind whipping on everything. Today just feels like one of those days, man. Like, oh, with the diesel heater falling over, and then I went to go fly my drone just now, and it tells me I have to be logged in, and clearly no cell service. I also don't have Starlink, so that's not happening. But we've stopped at a uranium mine here in the heart of the San Rafael Swell. And I've only been here once before, and it was ages ago. So, happy to report that it still looks the same. A rundown ghost town. Welcome to House Hunters, San Rafael Swell Edition. We have Justin, a humble YouTuber with under 100,000 subscribers, and he's looking at a quaint desert cottage in home number 1 with slat floors, custom walls, bookshelf built in, views, panoramic views, all the views you could ask for. House number 1 is a one room everything. And tall ceilings, everything you'd want in a one room everything house. Let's go check out property number 2. Property number 2 is a riverside property with a view. Fabulous. custom stonework walk-up. And again, everything you could ask for. The sink is still intact, comes with an oven, and custom orchard wallpaper. The linoleum flooring does need some work, but that's okay. We can come back to that. There is hardwood slat floor underneath. Really a classic for all the homes like this. I mean, property number 2 is pretty tempting. Now, the neighbors, they're a little rowdy. You could see the car down there hasn't fared too well living close to the neighbors here. So we're gonna make sure we check out property number 3 before making our decision. Property number 3 looks like stone flooring and asbestos probably. Property number 3 is an art studio, 1 room, furnished. You do get your bed and a designer's desk. And I mean, plenty of view for inspiration. Plus, you look down on the other 2 properties right out your window. So I'm gonna head back, deliberate, and give you an answer on which property I'm getting the keys to.
This one comes pre-wired for 2 lights.
Oh, and it's got a skylight. Hey, hey. Wow.
Because you didn't have electricity in the other 2, did you?
I didn't, no. Yeah, so this was wired and has a skylight.
So I'm gonna slowly back out.
Yeah, that's as much as stone floor, skylight. Yeah, what a place. So what will Justin choose? Will it be property 1, the most spacious of the 3, but a fixer-upper? Property number 2 with the riverside but rough neighbors? Or property number 3 fully furnished with a skylight? I think I'm going with property number 2, riverfront. And yeah, so I'm gonna just call up my realtor, get the keys, and let's move in. I just pulled up the weather. We got a small spot of LTE here, pulled up the weather, and for the southeastern Utah, we're expected winds 35 to 45 miles per hour sustained, with gusts up to 65 miles per hour expected. And that is all night tonight and into tomorrow. I've got to tell Rob, but I think that's the end of the night for us. I'd rather start making my way home before too long. So the maiden voyage with Winston was not what we expected. Time to go home and figure out some of the quirks that we developed while we were out here and get ready for the next trip. But it would have been a lot more pleasant had this windstorm not blown through. This is not fun. During the drive home, after what was a very discouraging first trip, we were reassured that we'd made the right decision in leaving. As we ran head on into the storm, conditions worsened. The roads, they became straight ice. It snowed, it was sleet. Nothing that we wanted to stay camping in central Utah. The good news is that the trip with Rob from Revere Overland was enough of a run for me to know what changes to make before I had to head out the following week to meet up with KC250 and his Demonator. That's a Demon engine swapped Gladiator. And we went right back to the swell for some of the best camping I have ever experienced. To catch next week's video early and join an active community of overlanders, join my Patreon. Our private Discord is highly energetic and a direct line of communication to myself and other YouTube creators like Sean from the Storytell Now and Rob from Revere Overland. No pressure if that is not your thing. This video, where I build an overland Bronco for Orlando Bloom and take him out for his very first off-road trail, that'll tickle your fancy. So if I don't see you in the Discord, I'll see you over there.